What is going on, guys? It's Matt here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about everything Sia, answering some questions, and hopefully allowing you to better play this class. I want to give a big shout out to Alex, Risu, and other Sias from the community today talking about the class as we try to figure her out. Before we begin, I gotta answer, how the hell am I 254 already? Short answer is that I saved 14,000 EXP vouchers, a growth potion selector coupon, and 5 mag pots from the anniversary event. On top of the premium pass from Sia and some grinding, I was able to get from level 98 to 254 in about 10 hours. Also, today's compensation helped as well with the extra 2 mag pots. Now that we got out of the way, let's begin. First things first, her Link skill and her Legion. Sia's Legion piece is abnormal status damage. This makes it a best in slot Legion piece. It's essentially just an extra 6% damage at triple S at level 250, 5% at level 200. Definitely going to want her for that. And her Link skill at level 3, which is level 210, gives 10% buff duration and 3% critical damage. I think for this Link skill, you can probably replace something like Resistance or Lumi, Explorer Thief, or Xenon. If you don't use any of those, you might have to ask people that play your class, ask your class Discord, what Link skill, if Sia is at all best in slot for your class. Maybe for certain classes it's not, but I think for most classes you're going to want to use Sia's Link skill. And speaking of Link skills, I guess I'll show you what I use for bossing and for mobbing. So this first preset is for bossing. I have Kana, Explorer Mage, Lin, Demon Slayer, Kinesis, Phantom, because she does lack a little bit of crit, Moshen, Arc, AB, Explorer Thief, Cadena, and Demon Avenger. For grinding, I used Auron, Kana, Mercedes, Lin, Xenon, Kali, Lara, Phantom, Evan, Arc, Ilium, and Demon Avenger. Next up, let's talk about her inner ability. For her inner ability, you're going to want either attack speed or skip cooldown on the first line. Second line, either skip cooldown or boss damage, and buff duration. Right, buff duration helps her final damage skill. Skip cooldown just helps her get additional damage out while she's bossing. And she can't hit 0 attack speed without attack speed inner ability. I actually got really lucky and I got the other two, but I haven't been able to roll attack speed. So kind of doing things in reverse. However, I don't really think that skip cooldown is that good of a first line, because if you start skipping too much of your cooldown, you're just going to desync all of your skills and it's going to be kind of janky. So I think I would recommend attack speed +1 as the first line, and then just go for, you know, buff and skip cooldown for the other two. Alright, now let's get into her skills. First things first is her hyper skills passives, right? From what I was told, and what works best currently, is to max out all of your marking skills, and the first 2 in Appear. I think there is currently a problem with Appear Persist, because it seems to be capped out at 20 seconds. I think in the long run, assuming this is a bug, it will be fixed, and you will want to use Persist. You can replace Persist for Stellar Marking Enhance if you want to, but pretty much like all 3 of the markings are best in slot because it just gives extra damage, more attacks, and then Pull, which we'll talk about in just a second, more damage, right? So everything into marking is really good. More final damage from Appear, and then, you know, the more final damage, you know, duration as well is really good. When it comes to her skills in general, she has a lot of skills, right? First, second, third, fourth job, but it's not as complicated as you might think, right? You will see that I do have a lot of these skills locked, and the reason for locking the skills, which you right click, is to not accidentally use the fusion, because you want to make sure that their cooldowns align with your burst and your mini burst, right? You can just use the skill normally without having to lock it, but this is just in case we accidentally do a fusion. We don't want to accidentally fuse and activate the skill when we don't need it, right? And then aside from that, I will say that the skills that you don't want to lock would be Stellar 1 Antares, Stellar 2 Algol, and the iframe Stellar 8 Saddle Melik, right? You can just use this as a standalone for the 2-second iframe, but if you do manage to get a link off, you will get the additional 1 second for a 3-second iframe. It can be hard to do practically in a boss fight because it was going to require your, stellagram to be completely empty, and then you pop your link in order to get that extra iframe. So instead, you can just use the skill normally. You don't have to lock it. You can if you want to, but you don't have to lock it, and you just use it normally for the 2-second iframe. And the reason why you don't lock Antares and Algol is because these are very easy to activate, where Algol, use your mobbing skill boom 4 times, and you're going to want to make sure that this lizard is up 100% of the time. And then for Antares, you're using your Ray. Ray is your main bossing skill, right? It's what you're going to be using, holding down all the time. So you just want to keep summoning out Antares, right, to do damage over and over and over again, right? So that's why you don't lock those, as well as potentially the iframe. Everything else you can lock, so you just don't accidentally fuse it. And we'll go into more detail about the burst a little bit later for that. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about 5th job. Okay. So 5th job, we got boost nodes, we got skill nodes. What do you do? Okay. Sia has 10 skills, 10 boosts, right, to max. So 10 boosts times 2 in each skill is 20 slots. You can max this out in 7 trios, right? Because that will be 21 slots. But it requires a funky order. So what I'm going to recommend is you kind of just look at my trios and try to replicate it as best as possible. You can try to figure this out yourself. However, I'm just going to mouse over these, and you can just craft a custom boost node and just literally just copy it down. If you already have some of your boosts leveled, you can try to match like the first skill, and then just craft the custom boost node to match the entire skill node, right? But you're pretty much boosting everything. You want to boost all 10 skills, and then you're going to have like 1 empty skill, right? A throwaway for the last trio, but still max out the other 2 that are important, all right? And in regards to skill nodes, Shine is a game changer, and this class would be absolute ass if this skill never existed. So you want to max out Shine, get it to 30 ASAP. All right, your Stellar 12 Saldasude. This skill is insane. Burst damage, right, after it procs. So this is the next important. Then either Sirius or Savior Circle. Doesn't really matter. So this is kind of interchangeable, but pretty much, right? These 2 are the most important, right? Shine and Saddlesuit, in order to max out as soon as possible. And then everything else is pretty standard, right? You have like your Maple Goddess, you got Mana Overload, you got Blink, Fountain, etc., etc., etc. So that's pretty much the 5th job. I do want to mention one thing for note, right? For a skill alarm, I do have Pull on a skill alarm because it is a very low cooldown skill, and it's just nice to get that little notification on the bottom right on when it's up. I also have it down here in my quick slots, but you're going to want to make sure you're using Pull off cooldown, because this skill, albeit it is a 3rd job skill, one of your marking skill, it does a lot of damage. It's a big part of your BA, of your rotation. I think it's like the 3rd or 4th strongest skill, I think, something like that. So this skill is extremely important, and you're going to want to be using it off cooldown every 5 seconds, aside from holding down Ray, which is your main bossing skill. Okay? And just going into that, let's talk about skill sequence and burst rotation and kind of how to play this class, right? And how I've been told and how I taught myself, and how we think currently is like the best way to go about playing Sia. Okay, so skill sequence, I have 2. I have one for burst and one for mini. You can literally just like pause the video and copy what you see, okay, and just make sure it's the same. You can move around appear in terms if you want. You can put terms first and then appear, but these are the 2 skill sequences that I recommend you have while playing Sia. All right, and then I guess I can also show you my keyboard and my layout. Some people like to see this, you know, and kind of how I have things situated and arranged. So I'm going to have my burst and mini next to each other, 6 and 7, and then like pretty much all of my skills. So how do we play this class, right? How do we burst? So pretty much I'd open up with spamming boom, right, for Algol, right? So we're going to spam boom 4 times, and we're going to have our little lizard. After that, we're going to go into bind, right, which is one of your 5th job skills. I think it comes with shine, actually. So you're going to bind into shine into your burst macro, and then I just use all of the stellar skills, right, from like most important to least important. So we're going to go with Saldasude, we're going to go with Canopus, also a lot of damage as well, the Anchor, Sirius, and then Fulmelhout, Vega, Izar, and yep, and that's pretty much it. And then we're gonna want to make sure we pull off cooldown, and then just spam Ray, right? So it'll kind of look like something like this, right? Where I'm going to summon out my lizard, I'm going to pop bind, F1 for shine, skill macro, and then insert home page down, delete end page down, pull, and then just hold down Ray, right? That's pretty much it. And then we're just going to want to make sure we keep using pull off cooldown and just spam Ray, spam Ray, spam Ray, pull off cooldown, spam Ray, spam Ray, spam Ray. All right. And then once our 30s are up, you're going to want to make sure that you're using those, right? So they're going to be coming up here shortly. Delete and end for me. Make sure you use pull off cooldown. It just skipped. We're going to keep using it, right? And then we're going to use our mini in a bit. Izar off cooldown as well. You can save Izar for your mini if you want to. I don't think we've tested yet whether or not like what's better. It might be better to save him for the mini, but the mini is going to be up right now. So we're going to press shine. We're going to press our mini on 7, home page up, delete end or back up, you know, make sure pulls off cooldown, and just keep spamming Ray until our main burst is now up in 50 seconds, right? Fulmelhout skipped cooldown, so we can use it, honestly, and then pulls just keep skipping cooldown, so we're just going to keep using it, and then just keep spamming Ray. And that's pretty much how I've taught myself and how I've learned to play Sia at the moment. The reason why you don't have to worry about using like all your combos and your fusion skills and all that stuff is because of Shine. This skill is so freaking important because what Shine allows you to do is that you get the bonus fusion, right? If you look at any of the stellar skills, right? Like Izar +2 blades, Vega's buff duration increase, right? And not really Algol, but like Alchiba getting the extra 30 magic attack, right? Because it's an ID buff. When you use Shine and then you proceed to use any of these stellar skills, you get the fusion benefit without having to do the combo, without having to do, like, for example, boom boom pull link, you know, or ray link. You don't need to do that because Shine takes care of it. And Shine at max level 30 is a 60-second cooldown, so it's up for your main burst and it's up for your mini burst. So this class is not as complicated as people think it is. You don't have to, like, you know, it's like, oh my, so many skills, you know, like you have to like remember so much. You could honestly manually use Fulmelhout, Vega, and Izar, but I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think those are really hard hitting enough for you to justify desyncing with your other cooldowns. I would just use them normally without the fusion, without the added benefit, right? But there is argument to save Izar, even though it's a 40-second cooldown. You save Izar for your mini with Shine, so you get the extra 2 blades out of him. And then you're also like using your other skills too, which give you buffs, which gives you more damage, right? So whether or not you want to use Izar off cooldown or save it, wait for your mini and save it, that is up to you. More testing needs to be done in order to kind of figure that out, right? But that's essentially it, right? That's how I've learned to play the class so far. And Sia is really good. I'm actually very surprised with her, and I actually find her very fun at the moment. A lot more fun than I thought I would. Her training is kind of clunky. She does feel a little bit clunky. I don't have that +1 attack speed yet for 0 attack speed on her, but still at +1 or at 1 attack speed, it's pretty good. And just in general, she has amazing damage output, right? So far, from what we've seen, she's got an amazing burst. She's not a support class, you know, she's a damage class, so she's got amazing burst damage. And I think like she's not a super brain dead easy class, but she's also not super difficult like people think she is. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you learned something. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask down in the comments down below, and I will see you all in the next video.